Combustion cars all pretty much have 12-volt battery systems, and they are known for going bad after 6, 7, 8 years for the most part in vehicles like this. But did you know that electric cars also have a low-voltage battery? Well, if you're a viewer of Out of Spec, probably you're a nerd, but electric cars seem to have a higher consumption rate of 12-volt batteries than combustion vehicles. And that's always kind of confused me. Anyway, 12-volt batteries died in my Rivian, so time to walk you through that process. We currently have all the EVs over there and some of the combustion cars over here, and that is because I've actually just finished installing these level 2 chargers here from Autel. I'll have a whole video coming on those really quick, but I have my Rivian R1T parked right over here, and that is because I left it there for Rivian service to come and replace my two 12-volt battery packs. So let me explain this to you. Every electric car has a main high voltage battery pack, and that's typically what you find in the center underneath the car. In the case of my Gen 1 Rivian, it's 135 kilowatt hour, 400 volt-ish architecture battery pack system. It's a giant battery under this thing. Then, in order to run all of the seat motors, window motors, power steering motor, fans in the car, headlights, everything, it needs 12-volt power. The main reason you need 12-volt power is because a lot of the parts that are used on electric cars are similar from a sourcing perspective to, of course, combustion cars. So most systems, screens, seat motors, door handles, everything are engineered to run off of a 12-volt system. And then they have their own DC to DC to step down to LEDs or whatever that run at, 5 volts, for example. So, forgive me because I have the hiccups. I'm sure it must be so funny to listen to this. Anyway, I got a notification on my Rivian the other day that the 12-volt batteries were dead. They've reached the past, point of their useful life, and it's time to replace them. But it was a particularly annoying place. You'll have to forgive my hiccups at the moment. That is just such unfortunate timing, but I've got to get the video in for you guys. I picked up my Rivian in the last episode from the Rivian Service Center after it couldn't DC fast charge. This is a 2022 Generation 1 Launch Edition truck with almost 70,000 miles. You would expect some problems over time, and this was a very simple problem in my charge port where there was a thermistor or a temperature sensor that was sending erratic data. Turns out it had just backed off of where it needed to be. Quick tightening of the screw, the truck could DC fast charge. We went down to Rivian, picked the truck up, all was good. 1 hour of labor, they charged me, and we're back on the road. Now, that all seems good, fine, dandy, happy. As soon as I got home, though, boom, I got a notification. Oh, your 12-volt battery needs to be replaced. What did it say? Don't go below 20% state of charge, Rivian recommended. Leave the vehicle plugged in at all times and replace the 12-volt batteries as soon as possible so you're not stranded. And well, in the case of my Gen 1 R1T, there's actually two 12-volt batteries that live under the hood here. And that's because this truck has a ton of accessory loads that sit on it. I mean, these things are very complicated. They have extended idle time with components still running, for example, app connectivity, so on and so forth. And what was happening was the reason it said leave the vehicle plugged in so that you can restart is there's a high voltage DC to DC converter that lives between the battery pack and the 12-volt batteries. It's typically stuffed with the rest of the power electronics of the vehicle. And you don't want to run on the DC to DC all the time, because you still need some 12-volt power when the vehicle goes to sleep to wake itself up. You'll also get more range loss because you're running excess power from the main battery to keep the 12-volt systems alive, and you really should replace them. The problem I had was the truck's only 4 years old. It's a 2022, and to be honest, it's been driven a lot. It's been charged a lot. It's not like it ever sat dead with the 12 volts. Like 4 years is not that long to get out of these 12-volt batteries. Apologies for the hiccups that keep coming. I don't know what to do about them, but it's making this video terrible. The 12-volt batteries in electric cars seem to not last that long, and they seem to cause a ton of problems. The relationship between the high voltage DC to DC, the DC to DC to keep the 12-volt systems alive seems to either be frying the batteries while charging or waiting until they're already past the point of recoverability to wake the vehicle up. It seems rough, and I don't really get why, because combustion vehicles and even EVs based on combustion vehicles, like my Spark EV here, when you shut them off, they're just off. They're done. The 12-volt batteries, there's no drain on them. But modern electric cars like the ID4, like Rivians, like Teslas, like Lucids, like Polestars are all known for high consumption rate of 12-volt batteries. And honestly, the 4 years that I got out of my 12-volt systems in my R1T is a long time. I've heard of R1T owners, especially in hot weather environments, that have only had 2 years of life out of their 12-volt systems. And that just seems egregious, especially when some of my combustion cars parked somewhere over there have 10-year-old 12-volt batteries. I leave them on a tender. They start up, they drive fine, you're good to go. I just don't understand why electric cars have such 12-volt battery issues. And the Rivians have 2 of them, 2 12-volt batteries. So I'm sure you want to know cost and everything and how that all went. Let me tell you about my service experience, then we'll get into cost and process. So when I went to get my Model 3's 12-volt battery replaced, it lasted about, let's think about this, 5 years before it popped up with the notification. Again, on the lower side to what I would expect. And it was about $110, including Tesla mobile service, to replace the whole thing. It was so cheap to the point where I was like, yeah, just come over and do it. And at the same time, I had them do a CCS retrofit, which was also fairly inexpensive. When I posted about my 12-volt battery going low in my Rivian, I heard quotes as high as $850, close to $1,000 for the 12-volt battery service from Rivian. That's parts and labor. And of course, this has 2 12-volt batteries, but that is, and in vehicles that are going to lunch batteries every 2, 3, 4 years, that's way too much money. And it's something that we should really consider talking about more. Now, thankfully, I did not have to pay that much, but let me explain the service experience. Yesterday, I called Rivian mobile service, and I said, hey, my truck, it popped up in the app, call service immediately to schedule an appointment to get your 12-volt replaced. So I followed the steps. I'm like, sure, I'll dial the number. And it was like a 12-minute phone call. It was a very not the best phone call. The dude's like typing on the phone in my ear, and I'm like, you should know that my truck has this warning because the app told me to call you, and you could just tell me when I can bring it in. So they said, okay, whatever. We get through the phone call. It wasn't that bad, but it was definitely like 12 minutes on something that should be able just to be scheduled in the app. And, it's not that much time, let's be honest, but I just thought it was really kind of an antiquated way to book a service appointment, considering Rivian already lets you book service in the app. Regardless, we make the service appointment for the 30th of this month. That's basically 3 weeks from yesterday. As soon as that appointment's done, whatever, it wraps up, the call center forwards the request to the local service center. And I remember because when our R1S, my LFP, which was just canceled, by the way, we'll have a future episode or a past episode coming on that. When the 12-volt died in that vehicle, we called and they offered mobile service and came up here, and I learned how that process works. And it's pretty much like the mobile service team. Every time a service appointment comes into the local service center, they say, hey, can we make this a mobile service appointment to not have the customer come in? And obviously I'm about an hour and a half away from the service center. I would love to not have to take 3 hours plus labor time out of the day. And they called me yesterday, 10 minutes after I booked the service appointment, out of the blue, and said, hey, your service request just came in. This is something mobile service can do. And they just so happen to be going up to your area tomorrow. So they can come by literally the next day and come get the 12-volt replaced. And the mobile service, the guy who covers our area, really awesome, solid guy. I've known him for years, actually. I used to work with him way back in the day. So it's just so cool to see a familiar face. And he came up today in his Compass Yellow R1T, same one he came up with to fix our R1S 12-volt thing, 12-volt problem. And he sent me the invoice before he started working on the batteries, and it was $550. Now that's expensive, but that's not the $850 to $1,000 that everyone had been talking about. And so I said, yeah, sure thing, $550, go right ahead. It's not cheap. That's a lot of money. Even if you buy the nicest, best 12-volt batteries on the planet, it shouldn't be $550 for two. But whatever, just go through it. They have the proper way to reconfigure the systems in the vehicle, put it into service mode, and just take care of it. And obviously I'm not under warranty anymore, and so they did that. At the end, I was like, oh, okay, it looks like you didn't charge me labor. What's going on? It turns out that the $850 thing everyone had been quoted was like the early days of 12-volt Rivian replacements. So I said, are you covering labor on everyone's 12-volt swaps now? The answer is yes. So Rivian recognized how expensive that would have been for two 12-volt batteries, and they're now just charging everyone parts. He's like, you get the same price as everyone else gets when their 12-volt goes. It's now $550. I don't know if that's just localized to our Raleigh, North Carolina service center, or if that's a company-wide thing, but they credit back the labor cost because it's just egregious for that. So at least it's still expensive, but every 2, 3, 4 years, whenever your 12-volt systems go, you'll be good to go. We checked the date codes on the batteries that went into my truck. They were built in October 2025, so I should have some nice headroom to carry me through for the next few years. And so there you go. That was my new 12-volt battery experience. No longer have warnings on the car. Everything's driving fine. They were able to book me for the next day for mobile service, and they credited the labor cost. Still not cheap, but I'm here to provide ownership experience with you, and that is it. Right through the middle of hiccups. Anyway, I've got to get back to actual work. We got to go performance test the R1S quad over there. So stay tuned to the Out of Spec testing channel for that video. Thanks so much for watching. See you in another one again soon. Bye-bye.